Hello again, this is another LEGO Star Wars Resistance set. This is the Black Ace TIE Interceptor, or at least that's what LEGO calls it. Don't worry about the fact that it doesn't look like a TIE Interceptor. It's just a very, very heavily modified TIE thing from the era of the First Order. But this is not strictly a First Order or Imperial TIE. It is actually mostly a racing craft. In the show, I think the craft is more intimidating looking and more complete, to be sure, but I had my reservations about this set when I first saw the initial photographs of it, and it definitely looks better to me in person now, having actually put it together and looking at it right here. But it definitely still has room for improvement around the fuselage section and around the sides of it. I actually enjoyed putting together the front end of it, these extended knife-like panels. I don't know, it's a cool feature. You don't get a lot of knife-like stuff, a lot of blade-like stuff from LEGO, so I think it's nice to get. It's interesting, and the construction is good for what it is, for how it's done. My main problems with this are just back here, especially with these struts, which are just kind of floating in the air. The whole thing is just hinged and just kind of sits there. It would be ideal to bring these all the way down and have them touch. Maybe you're not even seeing it that well here, but they really just kind of float, and it's awkward to me. You can see the shadow right there. It's just floating up above. You can actually modify this fairly easily to bring those down. You just have to remove a little bit of the during build durability of this part of the strut here. Still not quite complete. Also, you get this weird dip here behind the cockpit. That's just a little bit awkward looking, whereas this up here is actually pretty nice and fairly solid. This does use some stickers. Some of them are important, some of them aren't. So I would recommend kind of picking and choosing. If you hate stickers, but you do want something to look good, you can leave those there off. But these here are pretty important, I think, to the overall design. Although, ideally, I think these two tiles should be swapped on either side. I feel like this design needs to be farther out towards the edge. The way the cockpit is done from a practical standpoint is pretty cool. I mean, you've got the by now fairly standard canopy front piece for a TIE in general, and that just folds down and you can get easy access to putting a single figure in there. But for even easier access, you can hinge the roof back. That's part of the reason that this gap is left back here, but I still don't like that gap personally. I do like the fact that they included a couple of printed consoles in there, though. They're identical, but I think they add a nice level of detail. From a reasonable distance, though, this is not a bad looking craft. I like its shaping, the 3 engines without having a traditional wing style. It's kind of cool. Main thing that I really don't like about it, stepping back, is the fact that they made this instead of the Fireball, i.e. the main ship from Season 1 of the show. Here's Griff, the pilot himself, and in universe it's supposed to be unknown whether he's an actual former Imperial pilot or just a poser who's trying to be intimidating. But whatever he actually is, he's got a cool helmet, and I feel like that's a helmet that a lot of people will like to have and to play around with and to introduce their own stories for this. Like, you can imagine there being an entire squad that uses this as their standard helmet style. So I'm glad they made this. The print isn't perfect, but it is supposed to be hand painted on there, the kind of skull detail. So I like it. I think that it works out just fine. The detail for the torso is okay, not great. The print on the back of the torso is so-so. It's too bad that we see so much skin tone with this helmet. There is no alternate face for this guy, but here's his main face. They do reveal that fully, and I'm very glad that they once again spent a few extra pennies to include a hairpiece. So you can have him helmet off if you want, And I think that's great. I think that should be celebrated. Lego should be encouraged to continue doing that. Just include one extra hairpiece if you're going to have a helmeted character who has a face, and let us run helmet off if we want. So thank you, Lego, for doing that again. This is Poe Dameron, and in the show he is voiced by the actual live-action actor. So he is very, very genuine, and he's nice and clean here with his former rebel pilot suit, I'm assuming, or I guess would it be New Republic at that point? Flight suit. Looks cool. And you can see that he has an alternate face. This one does not include an alternate headgear piece because he's not intended to be in pilot mode in this set or anything close. I think that's just fine. If it was a set that included a starfighter for him, a starship for him, then definitely you should do both. But as it is, yeah, just having the hair is fine for this context. Lastly, they include a BB-8 because BB-8 is active in the show, and this is a just standard BB-8, so nothing new or special here. Here are the leftover parts, very few for the size of the set, and they also have one extra laser bolt for the spring-loaded shooters. So value, around 400 pieces. I would give this $40. That magical 10-cent price to part ratio. I could do that, even though that's kind of a high value proposition nowadays. 10 cents per part. We've been kind of looking at that as the benchmark of good value for quite some time. In terms of the number of parts or the sizes of the parts here, things are fairly average. There's not a lot of bulk here. There's a lot of length, but I would still give it the $40 just because I kind of like the design. I would even give it $45 if it had a little bit more bulk in the center, or if it was something that was of value in the show, in the universe. If this was, I don't know, maybe like the Fireball with the same number of pieces of the same size, same amount of bulk, I would give it $45. I might even give it $50 if it was a really good Fireball with about 400 pieces. But it's not the Fireball, and it's fine. I do think it's pretty cool looking. I don't think that it's worth $50 as it is, so this is one that I would also recommend waiting for. Wait for it to be discounted. It surely will get discounted. It just is not going to have great demand. Don't understand why they made this. It doesn't make sense. Should have made the Fireball. For the first wave of Resistance sets, you do something impactful. Get the most money out of your customers, Lego. I don't get it. It just doesn't make sense that they made this instead of the Fireball. They made Von Reg's fighter instead of the Fireball. Do one bad guy thing and one good guy thing and make them both memorable. Oh well. Not a bad set. If you can get it at a discount, not a bad set at all. But definitely not a must-buy and not something to invest in for the long term. This is not going to hold value down the line, in my opinion. But that's it for my look at this. You can check out the build if you'd like to. I will link to it right now, and I'll talk to you again as soon as I can.